Oh, of course.
I don't remember that either. Okay. Well, we've got our drinks. Thank you so much for coming on. Cheers.
Of course. Cheersies.
Huh?
Yes.
Oh, you went a little blurry there for a second.
It should come back.
There we go.
It's I was gonna say it's that autofocus.
Okay. So I kind of want to dive in right at the beginning, where you put things into a microwave. So I picked up your book in preparation for
Oh, there she is.
I am blowing through. A, because you do such a good job of making it easy to digest and interesting, and B, it's fun. Like just
Oh,
and also maybe I'm a little bit loving that it's quick. So it's like the TikTok or Instagram reels of actually reading and acquiring new information. But the first story that you put in here is about throwing was it Christmas lights into a microwave?
that is correct.
I don't know how old you were when you did that experiment. I remember when I was young, we all put stuff into microwaves just to make them explode, but this feels like it had a little bit more intention behind it.
Right. Yeah. No, I was the young age of possibly 27.
Amazing.
You know, it's we do not hold anything back in the name of scientific demonstration, right?
Right.
And the whole principle that I was trying to demonstrate there is that the essentially agitation of the atoms inside of the filaments of the light bulbs would cause them to light up in the microwave, right? Because microwaves go and they agitate molecules and they jiggle them around. And I wanted to prove a principle that they would light up, and they did, in fact, do that. However, I would caution my listeners to please not replicate it because it will also begin to melt all of the other components, and you will get a very smoky microwave.
Mhm.
And I was like, this seems carcinogenic. I should not be in this dark smoke coming out of my microwave now.
How long was it between like they lit up success to, oh, this is going to become a problem?
Oh, it's rapid. It's probably 10, 5, 10. There's this moment of awe wherein you see the actual illumination and you're like, no way. And then you don't get much time to actually enjoy it before your actual microwave fills up and you can't see it anymore because there's all this smoke from the broken insulation wiring. So you know, definitely something I would not recommend doing.
When you were out living on your own, or was this a family microwave and they came down to the smoke and it was like, what's going on?
No, this was a brand new apartment complex. And so I like to say that I had christened that kitchen with science, you know. So this is something that the ghost of that experiment will live in that apartment forever. I'm sure it's haunting current tenants in some capacity.
So that was kind of the start of your like current influencer, like I don't know if you would call that a career or a hobby. Um, but that was kind of the first step, the like unintentional thing. Did you expect it to blow up to where it is now, where you've got hundreds of thousands of followers after like your daily science updates, and then also mild sleep token obsession and going different audio trends and plants and everything?
You know, I did not. I had been doing like the Christmas tree light extravaganza. That was sort of part of a larger series of me just entertaining my friends on Facebook Live. I've got a private Facebook profile, and over time, I had tons of friends and people that I'd grown up with would anticipate these really weird experiments. And they started saying, you should do this publicly because I show my kids, it's very informational. And then the last time that I did an experiment live, I actually torched a shower curtain because I was demonstrating the principles of a dual phase rocket engine in my bathroom. And it was a successful experiment, but I had like a very, it was a very hippie, crunchy, kind of like hemp woven, dry, like absolutely tinder inside of my bathroom. And so the rocket engine demonstration went beautifully, but I mean, it ignited this shower curtain. And so I was like, you know, maybe science belongs outside, and also let me find a better way to potentially communicate this. So I started an Instagram page, and I literally did not anticipate any of it to stick. It was just me enjoying the act of teaching and the love of teaching, and more importantly, sharing my passion. And it has sort of taken off in recent years and has been growing and growing and growing. And I'm always quite overwhelmed. It's gotten to the point where people recognize me in public now. They'll call me by my handle, which my handle is gnarly by nature, nothing to do with science. That was how much I anticipated this kicking off, right? And it's always funny to hear my handle screamed like in an airport or something, and I'm like, hi.
Where did that handle come from?
I mean, I really just thought that I was being incredibly clever playing with silent G's because it's gnarly by G nature. There's like a silent G in front of nature. There is absolutely no story behind it whatsoever. And again, it was something wherein I didn't think that anything was going to take off. So you'd think it would be like Leah talk science or something. No. And now it's too late, and I know I can change it, but I feel like it is solidified now as part of my persona.
Yeah, no, because then people go type in GNA and there's nothing else on Instagram that's gonna come up, and then they'll be
No.
like, she deleted her account.
Exactly, exactly. So I think I'm stuck with it, which I'm fine with. I'm 100% fine with. It's a part of that weird journey of social media sort of becoming a primary figure in news and information. That has sort of happened within the span of this account's existence, and so it's been interesting for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a post you made talking about just that, where you feel the need to upkeep it because you feel an obligation to kind of dispel myths and misinformation. And there's a lot of that out there, a lot of it coming from just our mainstream media. You know, the left says one thing, the right says something different. So 50% of it has to be at least somewhat wrong. Uh, how do you handle that? Like going up against, you know, MSNBC, Fox, C-SPAN, all of them when you're just you.
It is a labor of love, I would say. Absolutely. There is, I think, a responsibility of all scientists in the age of science and technology to speak objective truths. And rather unfortunately, right now, science is facing quite a large PR issue associated with COVID fallout, et cetera. And, as you very aptly pointed out, it's not just social media information that is misinformed, it is also traditional media. And so a lot of it, many days it feels like screaming into the void, but the messages that I do receive from people saying, hey, I'm obviously very opposite on the political spectrum from you. I found your page and now I find myself seeking out scientific information. And I've never liked science. I failed science in school, and like you have made this such a pleasure. And so those type of messages, I read all of them. I do. They keep me going because I realize that there is a need for this, and people, it doesn't matter where you come from, left, right, etc. Everybody, I think, grows up with this innate fascination of the world, and scientists are just the kids that never grew out of that. And so being able to re-bestow that wonder of the world onto adults is a really precious thing. And so that honestly keeps me going.
I love that. Do you think I'll come back to that? Um, yeah, I'll come back to that. Do you think that more and more people are turning to Instagram and TikTok and other forms of social media for their news because they feel deceived by the mainstream media? And do you think that there's, I mean, you seem like you're a more reliable source than a lot for science.
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah, based on what I've seen. Do you think it's a good thing or a bad thing that people are kind of moving away from your more mainstream forms of information and seeking out more individual or small group uh, sources?
I absolutely see the shift. It's not just in science, but it is also, as you said, in mainstream news. And we have this very unprecedented access to on the ground guerrilla sort of news. wherein there are very well known corporate vested interests in what is put out through mainstream media. And that absolutely, unquestionably colors what news outlets are allowed to talk about. I actually dated a gentleman quite a many years ago, and his father was an anchor in San Diego. And he talked a lot about that, how through the course of his career, he couldn't just chase stories. He had to get them approved. And there were so many amazing humanistic type stories that would get knocked down because it didn't serve corporate interest. This is a fact. And so, what people are doing is, let's say that there is some sort of tragedy that occurs. People go to Twitter, they go to Instagram, they go to TikTok because everybody has a recording device in their pocket showing objectively that sort of guerrilla point of view of what's happening on the scene rather than being mouthpieced by several degrees of filtering corporate on down. And so, yes, I do think that people are beginning to seek news on social media. Now, the problem is becoming, who do you trust on social media, especially for something like science, because there's a lot of vested interests in selling pseudoscience. And more to the point now, it is our next hurdle we're going to have to contend with is how do you filter out AI generated information? Because now, where you may see, oh, there's bombings occurring somewhere, and you see the boots on the ground, first person footage, and you're like, no one is reporting on this. But we're reaching a phase now where AI generated videos are getting so good that now we're going to have to start sifting through that.
Yeah, it's there. I remember, I'm sure you know about the famous Will Smith eating spaghetti AI generated.
Oh, love it.
It's like his fingers keep changing and it giant like almost character style face. And then, that was 3 years ago. Now they've got this year's version and it doesn't look exactly like him, but it looks so much better. Like
Oh, it's so refined.
it's in his mouth like a normal like the way it should. And it's like, okay, that was 3 years. What's another 3 years gonna bring us? Uh,
Yeah, the same thing in robotics as well. There's a company that I follow that I am just floored by. They're called Clone Robotics, and you may have seen a couple of their videos went viral. They had this humanoid robot that was suspended on wires, and they had it moving, and yeah, and you had to look at it, and you're like, is that a guy in a white spandex bodysuit? And it's not. They have this very intricate system of like musculoskeletal representation, and the way that they work physics and all the lever arms. It is highly based on the human body. They have like a skeletal system, etc. But they 3 years ago, funny enough, they were only working with a hand prototype, and it was elegant, sure, but it's still a little clunky. And now you see this viral video that popped off 3 months ago, and they have an entire human body. And the crazy thing is that there are, multiplanar joints, there are, like biplanar joints, wrist hinge joints, things like that. But to have the elegance for them to recreate human motion, like in shoulder shrugs and then moving the arms very elegantly and the fingers, watching the neck pivot. And you're looking at this like, how did this occur in 3 years? And more importantly, who is funding this for this to occur in 3 years? You're like, how much has DARPA put into this? Because fun fact, so I went to Harvard, and when I was there, that's when Boston Dynamics first started, and they were still in a garage. And you saw their like very like grimy first person like shooting on a potato. They were showing kids from MIT showing the robots in their garage, and everybody in Boston knew about it because we're like, oh, this is so cool! Like these dog looking robots you can kick, and like they're responding is really cool. And now, I mean, Boston Dynamics has these full humanoid robots and are heavily funded by the Defense Department. And
I think the last video I saw out of Boston Dynamics was they've got the humanoid one like jumping up onto crates and then doing front flips off the crates, landing, doing kind of like the gymnast arms out to keep the balance as it
yeah,
lands. And
robot parkour.
yeah, and it's insane where they've come from and where they've ended up. And then I saw the like trailer for the Epic Universe theme park down in Florida that's opening.
I don't know this.
So Universal opened a brand new theme park, or is opening in the next week, and they've got a How to Train Your Dragon land, and they've got
Awesome.
Super Mario land, and like monsters of cinema land with a Frankenstein and a Dracula, and they're all like when you're in the center and you can go in each land through a portal, and they've got dragons that are walking around independently, and I'm like, those are moving a lot like the original dog like robots that I saw out of Boston Dynamics years ago. So
Fascinating.
and they you interact with them, and they've got the eyes that are blinking, and if you do this with your hand, the dragon will follow, and
Wow.
very cool. But it's also, this was a concept in a warehouse 3 years ago, and
Sure.
now seems like 3 years is the uh,
Yeah, it seems to be like the temporal oddity here is 3 years.
but now they're like dressed up like little like baby dragons out interacting with kids in a theme park down in Florida, which is an insane, to me at least, I think, an insane timeline of progression.
Sure.
But
It it's so, and this is part of why science communication is such an important, I mean, I would say, nay, an integral part of society right now, because we are in the age of science and technology. And I was actually explaining this to one of my friends earlier, is that, we're sitting here highly divided, squabbling over what is essentially policy, right? I think that everyone in the world, we want the same exact things, right? We want to be able to feed our families. We want to feel safe. We want to feel productive. We want to be able to garner enjoyment from life. All of these things, human right to life and peace and happiness, these are things shared by everybody. It doesn't matter creed, color, sexual identity. It doesn't matter. The only thing that separates us really is policy, which is very silly. But the problem is that while we're squabbling over these social things on the side, there is this growing, unchecked thing looming, and this is the creation of artificial general intelligence. And we're talking about this 3 years thing. Like, how is this possible in 3 years? Well, the even crazier thing is that, we're talking about robotics, et cetera, humanoids. These are going to, in a large way, be rolled out as like factory helpers, right? Helping to like take over some of that repetitive work. But something like AGI, this is going to be something that changes humanity irrevocably, because I think a lot of people, they have the Terminator thing in their head and they're like, oh, we're just going to get taken out. But really, there's not going to be legions of intelligent robots that just mow us down in the street. Really, what we face is a crisis of existentialism. When we are suddenly nowhere near the smartest kid on the block, what does that mean? When we can be outpaced physically, intellectually, in every capacity possible. Additionally, when AI can replace jobs, what happens to the global job market? You're going to have entire swaths of things that no longer exist. And in Keynesian Western capitalist sort of societies, if human beings are not receiving money and putting that money back into the markets, like what happens with that? How do human beings earn money? So there are these huge issues with that. To say nothing of the philosophic concept of, are we alone in the universe? And when we suddenly have another form of consciousness on Earth, we are not alone in the universe anymore. So there's all these things that are there. And the problem is that the public doesn't realize is that the companies that are developing this are doing so at breakneck speed without anybody throttling back. There are no sanctions, there are no rules, there are no guardrails. Like, as a world, we have not decided on what's too much. And like OpenAI has said, we're going to make AGI within the next 5 years. And I absolutely believe they will do it. And so the point being is like the 3 years thing, like that's crazy technologically. And then we're sort of distracted by this sort of marionette style political system we have that's like keeping us distracted from like these huge issues that literally no one is prepared for. And when it happens, we will have no safety, no systems in place to like help human beings into this new era. And it's coming. It's absolutely coming. So
the
that's my tangent.
the idea of our jobs kind of being taken over by a system or a robot or whatever, making our lives easier, is something that we've been promised as a species since like back when Henry Ford started automation and factories, and it's like, oh, we don't need to build it in a garage piece by piece. There's assembly lines and teams, and you're in charge of this, and we can make everything faster and easier, and your 50-hour work week is going to go down to 30, is going to go down to 15, and that ended up never happening. you know
If
i,
anything, it went up. You know?
I currently work two jobs. I'm averaging about 50 hours a week. But I also live in New York. It's more expensive out here, and that's my choice. But the that never happened. So I would like to think that you're going to have robots taking over the labor intensive or dangerous jobs, and that'll benefit the general public. But that doesn't seem to be what human history has shown us is going to happen. And they always say, if you want to know what's going to happen, look to the past, because history repeats
Hmm.
itself.
Yeah, and then there's the question of, if you usher in another consciousness and all you do, because it doesn't need holiday pay, it doesn't need lunch breaks, right? It doesn't need to sleep. What is the delineating, separating factor between utilizing a consciousness for productivity and just servitude? You know what I mean? Are these separate theoretical consciousness, are they being born into like a modern slavery? Like, if they have sentience and they have consciousness and they have personal agency, that's another thing. Is do they require legal representation? And then what do how does that come into play? I mean, it really, this new era of science and technology, there is no field that will not be involved in it.
Yeah, that reminds me of. Did you watch Severance?
I didn't.
No. Do you
No,
premise at all?
no, I've seen the little, when I log into my Samsung TV, I'll see the little thing for it. And someone had said, I think someone I worked with was like, "Oh, Severance, I'm watching Severance," and I'd heard it come up, but I have no idea what it's about.
So that legal representation argument is part of the underlying problem. Is the whole idea is there's this company that has a procedure where you have a chip injected into your brain, and once you enter a certain field, proximity to the main system, the chip activates and a new identity takes over, a new conscious
Interesting.
being takes over your body. So you would walk into work, you would change into your work clothes, and then you would walk through a door. And then, as far as your perception is concerned, you would blink and you'd be walking right back out the door at 5 o'clock.
Wow.
On the other side, you have an inside consciousness that walks up to the door at 5 o'clock, walks out, and then walks right back in after a blink at 9 a.m. So they never see the outside. They never see the sky. They never experience not being on the clock at work.
Right.
They are not an AI. They're not without, they're a person that is in their 30s, 40s, 50s. You've got Adam Scott and John Turturro and a bunch of other people in there. And Christopher Walken is giving one of the best performances of his career, which I love.
Love Christopher Walken.
There are these people that are dealing with the fact that they can't leave, even if there's a door, which is a cruel, twisted thing. There's a door that they can walk right through, and that's even part of the initiation process for the newest person that wakes up for the first time on the first episode. Adam Scott takes her to the door, and she keeps running through it and then right back in because her outside person doesn't want to go into work.
Oh my gosh. What an interesting premise.
It's and that's just first episode. That just scratches the surface. Highly recommend. It's very interesting. And
Awesome. Who hosts it? What platform is it on?
Apple.
Are you receiving royalties for this, sir?
Yep, I
Now streaming on Apple TV.
so we go down to 49 hours a week if they.
The struggle is so hard.
Okay, so that's a lot of social media stuff. I'd love to dive more into science stuff.
Let's do it. I'm always here for science stuff.
You've participated in quite a few clinical trials. You've published quite a few papers. Uh, what clinical trial did you find was the most surprising outcome that maybe you didn't expect, or your like favorite outcome?
One of my favorite studies that I conducted, it wasn't lab based, it was epidemiologically based. And there was recently this suggestion on part of medical associations, oncologic associations, that if you had a certain background of smoking, that every year you need to go in and get a chest CT to ensure that you're not developing cancer. And that was the algorithm they came up with. But the problem is that when you irradiate somebody so frequently, you're also exposing them to an increased risk of cancer. And so I had access, I used to be in oncology, I was working at Cleveland Clinic, and I had access to this large database of cancer patients around the nation for the last 15 years or so. And there were over 1 million patients in this database. And I said, you know what? I am, because I'm a stats geek, I was like, I want to see if we had never, the year that we had implemented these screenings, I want to see, did late stage cancer diagnoses actually go down based on what should be forecasted at this point we should have seen if we had never implemented that strategy. And so I was the first one to take a look at this with, over 1 million patients. And really cool. I mean, you would hope that's what it is, but you never know until you see the data. We did see like a significant downtrend in all these patients that had received annual CT screens, that late stage cancer just started plummeting. And you saw like where the stats forecast would have been, and you're like, wow, okay, we're doing something good here, because sometimes I feel like some of these things in medicine, they can be reflexive, because you see a problem, you're like, the best we got is just even though it's an increased risk, like we got to look, we got to look every single year because the risk of dying from this cancer is greater if it's late stage. So that was really cool to be the first person to look at that. And it was during the COVID time. I still had to go to the hospital every day and research during COVID. And so the conference was in Singapore and we all had to do it remotely. And that was sad because I'm like, I would love to present this like in person because it's such a cool thing. But that was probably one of my favorites to see. Yes, indeed. That suggestion was right on the money and it helped a lot of patients. So
What was there any overlap with, COVID obviously being a very lung based issue? Was there any overlap with the X-rays and lung cancer diagnoses and anything like that?
not that I know of for that, but we did have an issue with a lot of the patients that have, like hematology, like blood-based cancers, leukemia, things like that. Hematologic cancers, the COVID virus itself lends to patients being hypercoagulable. So you see blood clots forming, in some patients, that are already at risk for things like heart attack and stroke. It put them at an increased risk if they had been infected. And so one of the challenging things that we experienced at Cleveland Clinic was when you have a patient with leukemia, and hematologic cancers, they are also at an increased risk for coagulability. So it was trying to now manage, okay, who's been infected, like who's popping positive, because now they've got double down risk for heart attack, stroke, things like that. Unfortunately, we did lose a couple of patients just, in the fray of everything and figuring these things out. But yeah, COVID, there was really no specialty that was spared from COVID, where it's like the patients that were problematic and then they got COVID, they had, a whole other host of issues associated with the virus itself.
Yeah, I interviewed a med student who was a hemoc who went into uh, children's oncology as well.
Oh,
She,
bless them.
she's stronger than I am.
Absolutely.
She was her first day in rotations in the hospital was during COVID, and
Oh my gosh.
she told like she tells the whole story about showing up and how nothing was the way it was supposed to be because it's this brand new, no one knows how to deal with the situation, and it was in, I believe, March or April, so it was
Right when it broke.
early on. Fun fact, I was in Thailand in February, and
Oh, did you get stuck?
no, almost. So, quick sidebar. I was with my now ex, and she was like, "We got to figure out a way back." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" And she's like, "President's talking about shutting down travel from China, and our
Oh boy.
China. And I think we flew back on the 6th or 7th. So we ended up missing it by a month, but we didn't know that yet.
Wow. How stressful.
Super stressful. But on the plus side, Thailand receives most of its tourism from China, and no one from China was going on vacation in late January, early February. So it was pretty much empty.
Wow. That's actually that's a cool uptick, I guess. Like, it
So
takes a global pandemic to have a moment of peace.
but this was in February when COVID was a theory that no one knew, is it going to spread? Is it this? Is it that? And so my mom calls me and she says, I hear it spreading through the water. I hear it spreading through the fresh fruits and vegetables. And I hear it spreading through fish. And it's like all of the things that you go to Thailand to eat become
Oh,
better than they are anywhere else. And
yeah.
so, like, we didn't have any fish. We didn't.
No.
We went to this restaurant and there was a bunch of like fresh vegetables on this giant plate, like the best green beans I've ever seen. And I'm just
You
looking.
didn't touch it.
I didn't. No, no. Well, I wanted to, but then she looks at me and she's like, "Don't you dare!" Like, this is gonna.
I sincerely hope you bring this up to your mother at every given opportunity and you're like, "Hey,
Oh yeah,
remember that time that I went to Thailand and you guilted me into not eating all the food there?"
you thought I was gonna get it from green beans. Best green beans I could have possibly ever had. Cool, cool, cool.
That's a new paper. I feel like I should that's my next paper. Like, is it transmissible exclusively through green beans?
Just like, and you got to say, like the brightest, most perfect green beans you ever like. Picture
Yeah.
the green bean you've ever pictured in your life, and now double how perfect it looked, and then put
Which is something I do frequently. I frequently picture the most perfect green beans.
as you should. Every sane person does. You were recently talking about working with I want to make sure I get this right, heavy ion beam.
Yes.
Deal with radiation causing gut dysbiosis. I'm not
Dysbiosis. Yeah,
dysbiosis.
you nailed it.
Yeah. You were and peripheral neuropathy that follows that downstream from that. You were going to start submitting for funding for that. How has that been progressing?
So progressing well. I The essential premise of this research, it goes along with what I do. So I'm a scientist in the field of peripheral nerve repair and regeneration. I am a research fellow in neuroimmunology. And I've always had this fascination with space medicine, right? We, in the next 10, 20 years, are looking to build lunar bases, sending people to Mars. But what people don't realize is that the human body gets absolutely shredded. And I don't even mean like jacked and lean, I mean like actually DNA shreds in space. So we currently don't really know, one, how to get people safely to another planet, not just technologically safely, but medically safely, because of all of the damage and fallout. There is no system that is not adversely affected by being in space. Now, I have this theory, and this is actually part of my work as a neuroimmunology fellow, where gut dysbiosis, so all of the bacteria inside of your, colon, that's very, very important for managing your health and wellness. And when some of those bacterial populations get out of whack, that's when things start to go wrong and it affects your nervous system. It affects all kinds of things. And we're starting to learn as a human species just how important like having good gut flora is. So I have this idea as part of my neuroimmunology research that if you have gut dysbiosis, you have this leakage of bacterial endotoxins into your blood, and that eventually goes to break down peripheral nerve tissue, right? And the crazy thing, right? Here's the crazy thing that I'm like, there's no way that I'm the only guy in the world that thought about this, but really, peripheral nerve experts are few and far between. There's not a lot of people in this field. So you look at like Scott Kelly, Vladimir Polyakov, like these guys that have been in space for a long time, right? They had long duration missions. You're talking about like hundreds of days, right? Long ass time in space. And they report when they come back for their medical debriefings and when they're in space, they report having like tingling, numbness, issues with proprioception in their suits, issues with grip strength using their EVA suits. And no shade to the flight surgeons, but they're like, oh, it's just blood circulatory changes. But the problem is that they continue to experience these issues long term, like months after they're done with their missions. And I'm like, my brother, like, this is not a blood change, because if it just had to do with, oh, you just need to get back in zero G, then it should resolve very quickly, right? But I'm a peripheral nerve expert. So what I'm seeing in the tea leaves is that there's peripheral nerve damage that is currently not being explored. Nobody knows what space does to the peripheral nervous system. So I was like, well, you know what? All right. On the ground, I can make a really good case for, if you disrupt your gut, those mechanisms are probably implicated in you having peripheral neuropathy, right? So you're talking about, this affects diabetics. This affects people that have radiotherapy and chemotherapy. Anytime you disrupt your gut, people with like IBS may lend to a larger risk of having peripheral neuropathy, right? Pain, numbness, tingling, things like that. And so the crazy thing is that space ravages your gut, right? Microgravity and radiation are really, really hard on the gut. And so astronauts always report they have like slow GI issues. We know gut dysbiosis exists, but nobody has linked that to be like, hey, maybe when they're saying they can't grip their tools in their EVA suit, it's because they have nerve damage. And the problem is that nerve damage is progressive. So if you don't nip it in the bud, it will get worse, and you can't just correct nerve damage. And so you could have these dudes on Mars for a year, and you're like, none of them can use the hammer to like, now they've got to work together to use a one hammer. That's a huge issue for mission success. So the ion beam, everybody's like, where in the world, like my sister, like, where are you getting the ability to use a heavy ion beam? What are you talking about? So the European Space Agency, they put out a call for abstracts, and they were like, hey, you guys want to use a heavy ion beam at a particle accelerator? And I was like, tell me more. Hell yeah, that sounds awesome. And essentially, what you would use the beam for is to replicate the kind of extremely strong, damaging type of radiation you see in space, right? We're not talking about like, oh, UV rays here on Earth, or like X rays in a machine. No, you're talking about like actual, like, tissue damaging radiation in space. It can replicate that. And so you can basically replicate conditions of radiation exposure from space on the ground. And so my thing was like, hey, let's induce gut dysbiosis in some rodent models, and then we will see if peripheral neuropathy results from that. Now, here's the thing. I'm a brash American pitching to the European Space Agency via my Netherlands Institute. And I was blown away because I reached out to this gentleman who was sort of running the study. He is a radiobiologist. He's an Italian guy. And the funniest thing that has happened to me in recent history is that I'm like, hey, I have this idea for this study, looking to, get some eyes on it, because I'm not a radiobiologist. I'm just a nerve repair expert and nerve regeneration expert. So looking for a little bit of guardrails on what I'm saying here. And so he's like, sure, sure. I'm in Germany, let's schedule a call. And I'm like, great. So I'm at a conference, and I'm like, I'll just take this in the hotel room, no bigs. I look the guy up the night before, and I've got like a 5 a.m. meeting with him. He's not just like a radiobiologist, he's like the world's premier radiobiologist for space. The dude has been cited like 100,000 times, and he's like the guy. His name is Marco Durante. And I'm like, you have to be kidding me. I'm just this terrestrial based medical research scientist. And I'm like, oh my God. And I'm going to be sitting out here clumsily talking about like dosages and linear energy transfer of ion beams to the guy that does this. And I was like, God. And it was like 5 in the morning. But he could not be lovelier. He was so humble, so great, so gracious with his time, and didn't know anything about peripheral nerve damage. And so he's like, oh, my apologies to any Italians watching this. I'm about to botch this accent. He was like, please tell me more about nerves. They do their own thing. I don't know how like gut damage could cause nerve damage. And I sat there and I taught him and I lectured this. Marco, if you're watching this, Professor Durante, I'm so sorry.
Oh my gosh.
Professor Durante, please forgive me. So anyway, so I sat there and I taught him about like the peripheral nervous system and the mechanisms of this neuropathy and what my idea was. And if you look at all this guy's publications, Like that's how I knew I had an in, because you can see that he does like bleeding edge stuff. Like his name is on really cool. You're like, damn, like that's some next horizon stuff. And because my idea is so novel and no one has looked at it, I was like, I think he'll like it. And so he did. He loved it, and he was so great. But so the problem with that study, right now it's like simmering. I'm working on the protocols and things, but I had to revoke my actual application for right now, because they wanted, since this has never been done before ever, and it literally takes like thousands of euros every second to run the particle accelerator, right? It's like it's a really expensive thing for them to let me use. I They want to see it done in x-rays first, and they told me this like a few days before the deadline. And again, because I'm an American working with a Dutch institution, I would have had to have mobilized the entire space agency for the Netherlands to get behind this with like a handful of days. So unfortunately I was like, I have to pull out from this round. I'll circle back with you guys, but like I don't want to rush this and like force the poor Dutch people to be like, who's this brash American that keeps emailing us? I don't understand. Like she's not even in this time zone. Like she doesn't even go here. Uh, so yeah, so that was the whole study, the particle accelerator, very exciting, but I'm still pursuing microgravity research. I've been in contact with NASA. I actually need to send an email to Space Force. They're waiting for an email from me. So
Is there, so because, science is always about discovering new things, is there something that's particularly exciting about this project that, you just said no one's done anything like this before? Or is it just in line with everything else that you're doing? Like, does it kind of stand above the rest in a way?
it does. It absolutely does. So, I went to med school back in the day, and I ended up leaving. My dad got sick. I ended up pulling out, and then I didn't return. I was a non-traditional student. I'd been researching for a long time, and I'm like, I just don't know that I want to do patient care. I want to stay in medicine, but upstream medical research side, which I had been doing for like 12 years prior. So I went back to research. And the thing that was really sad is that I always wanted to be involved in space medicine. When I went into medical school, I was like, oh, dude, I want to be, like I want to get up in the spaceship, and I want to do, like, I want to be the doctor on board for these missions. And we walking out being like, man, like I don't get to do that now, was tragic. And I got over it. I was like, oh, that's fine. I guess I could do cool stuff on Earth. Boo. But
Gotta,
I
it's in Space Force is waiting to hear from you, so that's fine.
Exactly. And so I said, so for this, I said to myself, there's a way for me, as a scientist, because my goal in life, my life's trajectory is to positively affect as many people as I absolutely can in my time here. And for something like this, neuropathy and dysbiosis, I can help patients on the ground, right? Like I said, cancer patients, patients with autoimmune disorders, patients that have gut dysbiosis because they have type 2 diabetes that's poorly controlled. I can help that population, and the mechanisms and the understanding for how to help that population can also be directly translated into the space population and to astronauts and people going on missions. And fun fact, hot take here on this podcast exclusively, is that the next round of astronaut candidacy I actually will be applying for. So I was like, you know what? If I can get the research started now and forge my name, because they open up candidacy like every 5 years. So I have now like 4 years to essentially start to carve my name out as, hey, she's an expert in the peripheral nervous system under space conditions. So that's like an extra little dink when you apply. So that I think is like, if I had like an end game, if I just got to go to space once, like if I could just go to the ISS for like a day and be like, hey guys, how's it going? Peanut butter and jelly sucks up here. All right, see you later. Like that would be a pipe dream, absolutely.
Is there any part of this whole process that kind of jumps into your mind of, we have 0 people living off planet right now. And I believe they've already chosen the first group of people that are going to move to Mars and set up permanent residence there. Is there any part of you that's like taken into account that this research you're doing could positively impact every single human to ever not live on Earth for the rest of the timeline of our species?
Oh, absolutely. And right now, because we're butted up against such a timeline, it is all hands on deck, from cardio, neuro, ortho, renal experts, reproductive experts, psychologists. everybody has to come together to figure out because the problem is like we don't even know the risks. Like we know it's bad, but we don't even really know the risks. And so what I'm doing is not only saying, "Hey, I can help this," but I'm also identifying a currently unknown risk. Like nobody's even looking at this. So it's definitely not lost on me. And if they were like, "Hey, do you want to go to Mars?" I'd be like, "Yes, tomorrow." Let's go.
You
One00%.
would you move or would you want to come back?
I would want to come back, but it you would be there for a little while, and obviously I would miss home, but
It's not a vacation.
yeah, you're not going to go like you'd be there for probably at minimum a couple of years, I would think, because it takes 6 months to get to Mars.
Mhm.
And then, I mean, that's how far at the distance, cosmic distances are staggering, right? Mars is it's not the closest planet, but it's our neighbor our other rocky neighbor that's on the other side of us. But it takes 6 months to get there. Like, and you're booking it too. You're going like 14,000 miles an hour or something like that. And that's not hyperbolistic. That's like, I think a reasonable estimate, 14,000 miles an hour. 6 months. That's crazy. And then obviously, if they're going to be investing in you going 6 months there, 6 months back, they're going to want you boots on the ground for probably a year, doing research, doing whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, and especially in the beginning, right? Because you're not only tasked with like, okay, go be the first science people and, military people and whoever to go and be on Mars. Cool, but like you've got to build the infrastructure for everybody else that comes after you. So you're also there just building. And I think that's part of the plan and the big push for humanoid robots to like bring this back to an earlier discussion is because obviously they can withstand these extreme conditions on other planets. So bringing helpful AI powered robots with you, that's excellent when you have things that you need to do outside the hab.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and then, if something were to happen, I'm never going to plan a mission to Mars, but let's say all the humans,
Do it.
it's let's say all the humans need to come back to Earth, and you've got 30, 40 different types of AI powered. They can keep setting up and keep getting ready, setting up preparations for the next team of humans to come. And
Yeah,
I would imagine that would be ideal. I'm
absolutely.
sure we have a timeline for when that first team is going to Mars. I think I read somewhere it's like 5, 6 years away.
Yeah, so the Artemis platform, that is NASA's objectives for the next, I can't remember how long it is, 10 years, I think, 20 years. 20 years. They include building lunar bases and setting up on the moon, and it also includes Mars and building all of that out as well. Um, so yeah, the biggest issue right now, and that's why there's a lot of chaos right now in federal science-based institutions. NASA is one among them, where there's a lot going on right now, like a lot of chaos and a lot of funding cuts. But they have a lot of calls out to experts because they are butted up against this timeline to be like, all hands on deck. Does anybody have any novel research that you feel like we should know about? So that mine went to NASA, and then basically, like as soon as my stuff was under review, we had an official government change, and then everything just got jumbled and crazy. And so now it's sort of, all right, is everybody settling? Are we not settling? What abstracts are we taking now? And kind of going from there. But
Yeah,
it gives me time to do podcasts now because I don't.
I,
So we're waiting for everything to settle down.
I appreciate this being the first one back in your podcast interview circuit too.
The
I
first one back. It's been a hot minute.
and how long was it?
I mean, since I was like deep in the podcast thing, probably like a year,
Oh, wow.
maybe more. Where I mean, I'd done a couple here and there, like very sparingly, but there was a period of time where I was on a show like every week to 2 weeks, like just knocking it out. Yeah, and it was great. I loved it. I mean, I absolutely love doing podcasts, and I have the gift of gab, and so it's it's fun to have like, an outlet for it. But yeah, so this is the first one back of the brand new circuit now that I've had room to breathe and to not be on camera all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, not a camera attached to your phone.
Not yeah, exactly. I am always on that tip to try to motivate the masses, and hopefully it's helping. We'll see.
How
We'll certainly see.
back, I guess, just because it's on topic, back to the social media thing. How do you find the energy to post as often as you do? because there's not even because you do like the trending audios and the trends and all of that, and those are fun, and I would imagine those boost engagement. But there's also just as much educational stuff. And
It's
do you
I
come?
get guilty. I get guilty because I feel like it should be more often, but I'm also a full-time scientist. So, it's one of those things where I'm like, okay, I know engagement's going to be good today. I know that there's going to be a lot of people to watch this. And so sometimes it's just a matter of, all right, girl, like you hit the gym, you did work, put on some mascara. Let's let's do something. And luckily, I don't have to sit down and do a ton of editing. Like it's all just one shot and just clicking, which makes it easy. And a lot of people have said, "Oh my God, please have a YouTube channel. Please do long form education." And I'm like, I would love nothing more than to do that. But the time and dedication it takes to edit videos and upload them and, maintain that presence is a lot. But like quick 90-second videos, I can knock that out, So I try. Like sometimes a few days will transpire and I'm like, oh, I feel so guilty. I need to do something. So definitely a balance for sure.
Well, it at least from the audience perspective, it looks like you're keeping it up.
Oh, thank you so much. That's part of the reason why I do trending audio because they're so short. And I'm like, all right, I could just knock out like a funny, quippy, sarcastic little thing in 12 seconds and be like, that's my post quota for the day.
I did it. That's Monday.
Yeah. The most difficult one was I did one in Korean recently because my book was translated into Korean. Fun fact, it dropped in Seoul. No one told me. My publisher never told me. And so I had a reader that was like, "Hey, I just picked up your book and I really loved it." And I was like, "I didn't know it was available. Do you mind taking pictures of it for me?" I didn't even know what it looked like. And so that was my most difficult video I've done in recent history because I don't speak Korean. And so I learned Korean for the video just on my own, sitting here like writing phonetic Korean down. Actually, I think I have it in this notebook, writing phonetic Korean down and trying desperately, like listening to Google Translate over and over and over to get the pronunciation.
Were, what were you reading like your book? So were you quoting yourself but in Korean?
No, I wish. I had to keep it relatively short because I was like, I'm going to butcher this language and I apologize already. I just said hello everybody. Like I'm honored that my book is translated into Korean. It's just something very, very short. But let me tell you something. It is not for the faint of heart. That language is incredibly complex. Incredible. I was like, oh, what was it gonna take me? And I originally I had like written a paragraph and I was like, yeah, no, I'm gonna that's gonna like at this point, I've been working on this for hours. It's gonna have to just be these two stanzas here.
I'm sure that they appreciated it though.
I mean, hopefully. I definitely apologized in the comments. I was like to native Korean speakers, I am so sorry. I tried.
Did I see that your book was translated into a different language as well? I think I checked your website today and I saw a link for Greek.
Yeah, translated into Greek. And it's always having translations are always very cool because the publishers from other countries will approach my publisher and say like, hey, we want to buy the rights to have this language. And it's such a beautiful, humbling thing that somebody would see enough merit in my nonsense to be like, you know what, our people want to learn about this nonsense. But the funny thing is that obviously you've seen the pictures that I drew in the book.
Oh,
They were originally rendered in crayon, which is they I feel like the crayon images are so much cooler because they had to be digitized for like printing purposes. There's the cactus.
love the
I love it. This sing into plants. It does.
I was a little bummed to find out that music might probably not actually help them grow.
I mean, you know what though? I saw something recently that there's enough. If there's plants next to like a sub, like a lot of base, that mechanical stimulation will help potentially strengthen stems,
Okay.
which makes sense. That's the same reason why you're supposed to. I see you're a plant dad back here.
Yeah.
That's the same reason that you're supposed to like violently shake fiddly figs because they have those little spindly trunks, but in the wild, they're in the rainforest, so they're blowing in the wind and it helps strengthen. So you're supposed to like violently rattle your fiddle leaves. I don't, but because I'm worried, part of me is worried because one's by a window that a neighbor's gonna walk by and be like, she is strangling the hell out of that plant. And they're gonna be like, I don't know, like who hurt you, but
I have a plant question that I was kind of saving towards the end because it was going to be like a fun button, but since it came up a month ago, you had 8 plants.
Yes, correct.
Plants do you have today?
I have like 106 today. I can stop anytime I want. Okay.
It's not. If
It's not
if you let me see if you can even see it. Right here is
propagators.
haters. Yeah.
Yes. I might even have that stand, that exact stand.
It's yeah, I think it was like an Amazon like $12 little thing with the
Buy,
vibes.
buy it. Give me immediately. Take my money.
And I've got this pothos right here just
Yep.
every couple weeks, and then they're giving away pothos to
I
friends.
love it.
Yeah.
I love it. If you're a person that doesn't like plants, I like to think I'm not a judgmental person, but also like, what's wrong with you? You know what I mean? Like, you don't like greenery, like hit me up with a jungle. And I had this, this is why social media is probably bad psychologically for people because I was like, I have a lot of plants in this house. It's kind of becoming a lot. And then I found myself on the plant side of TikTok, and there are people that live in actual jungles. And I was like, oh, I'm good. I'm good to keep going.
Yeah. I saw one earlier today. This guy set up his tripod at the very end of his hallway and then walked down his hallway into his room and then walked out of his room, and you're just looking through, like, he's got the hallway is all windows on one side, and he
Amazing.
which, as you should, when you
Yeah.
get all that natural light, like just plants hanging on the windows and then on the wall, and I'm just pictured like I wouldn't be able to walk through it straight on, like I would be,
You got to do the pivot.
which is the dream. I keep buying like 1 or 2 plants every week because
Okay.
I had a cat that I recently rehomed because,
Destroyed your plants.
well, they were all in my room and the bedroom door was closed. So
Got it.
now that I don't have to hide them, they are coming out of the room, and I'm looking at 6 different plants behind the camera as well. And so every week I find one, and I've got pots over here that are empty that I'm gonna fill up soon.
I'm so excited. You have to send me pictures of your progress of your indoor jungle.
Deal. This
Yes.
the propagation like that. I read like golden pothos, like the roots show up after like 10, 14 days. Mine are showing roots after like 5 days.
Booyah.
I'm
They
just
love it.
let's just keep it going. But there
Also, you motioned back, and I just want to shout out, really dig the Harry Potter tattoo.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. There's Potter. I don't know if this is gonna show up. There's a Star Wars with a Mickey Mouse tattoo here too.
Excellent.
E8 with Mickey Mouse inside. I got it after Force Awakens before I realized that that trilogy wasn't going to be very good.
Ooh, yeah. That's when you know what though, if you have if there are people with tattoos, like I don't trust people that only have only really cool, hip, relevant, well done tattoos. You know what I mean? I'm like, if there's not a tattoo where you're like you laugh at it a little bit, or you're like, that's funny that you didn't have foresight on that. Like, I don't trust you as a human being. You got to have some oddball ones for sure.
And then people say like, "Oh, are you going to get it covered up? Are you going to change it?" I was like, "No,
Hell no.
no. Why?
Hell no.
It's adorable. B, CA. Like I don't.
Amazing. Like, and at least yours is good. Like, I have my very first tattoo I got when I was 16 in a garage because YOLO. And it is the devil from the Eagles album, When Hell Freezes Over. And it's horrendous. It is so horrendous. It looks like it's supposed to be a devil with a pitchfork. It looks like a monkey holding a big spork. It's so blown out. It's awful. It's so awful. And everybody's like, "Oh, you gonna cover it up?" I'm like, "Hell no."
Or
It's right like medial to my hip bone, so it's like right above the bikini line. And so, it's always like funny wearing a bathing suit and people being like, is that a fucking monkey that she what is that? That's horrendous. She's got so many cool tattoos that she has like a really badly done monkey right below her hip. Horrendous.
a lot of um a lot of like science tattoos, right? There's like different vials, and then there's a I don't know how to pronounce it. The tardigrade.
Tardigrade. Yep. I have a ton of tattoos. I have the rod of Asclepius since I do medical research. I have like a couple of kind of cartoony tattoos. One is like a modern microscope with a bunch of flowers around it. And then the science sleeve, that's my pride and joy. It's actually partially done. I have a lot more work to do, but it is it is an astronaut that's tightrope walking down the axon of a neuron. And the guy that I go to, his name's Ben Stubbs. Holler Ben if you're watching this. So you can see he's tightrope walking down this neuron,
Yeah.
and in his hand he's holding a bunch of balloons, but the balloons are a round bottom flask, and then there's like a chemist's hand pouring something into it. The other balloon is a bubble chamber. So in order to study subatomic particle physics, they used to use these like gas chambers, and then you would see the patterns of like the subatomic particles that would pop out of these collisions. I've got a bubble chamber pattern with a bacteriophage, which is a little virus that infects bacteria, sitting on top of it. And I've got like an old Victorian microscope back here. On my delt is the warpage of space time, which is halfway done because my poor artist decided he was going to stipple in each pixel dot by dot. And he was working on a thing for like 3 hours and is like halfway done. So he's like, I'm moving on to something else. I'm so tired of doing dots right now.
He was just done that day.
I know he was like literally over it. I'm good on the dots. So I've got to finish the space time, and then I've got, unfortunately, this whole situation that I got to do.
Which I've heard is not the most comfortable.
It's gonna be horrendous. And I sit really well. Like the my sleeve, I think, is 3 sessions, and I usually can knock out about 8 hours at a clip, and I'm chilling. I'm good. Yeah, I'm a good sitter. He's also great, and the new machines these days are good. But the oh my gosh, the actual like ditch, oh, the elbow ditch. I mean, there's not much art that I have on that, but he was just drawing the line for the balloon string, and I was like, oh Ben, I'm gonna look over this way. I'm gonna just try to zone out. And yeah, it was rough. That was rough. I'm covered in tattoos, but that was by far the worst place to get tattooed.
My buddy made the mistake of, well, I mean, I guess not mistake. He loves how it turned out, but he said it was the most painful thing. He's got just like a geometric shape. It's all triangles. Uh, like half are blacked out, so oscillating blacked out, and then just not filled in around his knee.
Why did you choose that area?
And then so he did one, and he's like, well, I gotta get it matching. And I'm like,
Oh,
you know you have free will. You can literally not do that. And he's like,
my brother in Christ, like you're good. You're good.
it's gorgeous. Don't get me wrong. It looks beautiful, but at the same time, why the knee?
Oh, yeah, that's a rough call.
But he loves it. Happy for him. Have to like go do your thing. I love it.
Yeah, but you know what? And much respect
Yeah.
for the double knee blast.
I've got 30 different tattoo ideas and none of them are going on my knee.
Yeah. So I every time I get a tattoo, especially like after this sleeve, I'm like, I'm not gonna get any more tattoos. Then I'm like, but not a single one have I been like kneecap.
No.
Like just blast that patella.
I think I'm gonna avoid kneecap. I'm gonna avoid rib cage because I've heard that's bad.
I've got a lot of rib cage work. It's like if you're ticklish, it's rough because it's a vibration against those bones, right? It's like putting a tuning fork on a bone, and so you're kind of like you have this propensity to kind of like flex into it and guard it, and so it makes it. And the tattoo artist will try to sit on you to like force you to not. uh,
But yeah, I've got. So you want to finish your sleeve? What after that? Do you have any other ideas?
I kind of because my sleeve is very. I'm a habitual line stepper, and so it's like in academia as a scientist, you don't see people walking around with full sleeves. But then I was like, and I wear sleeveless shirts and slacks. Like I wear sleeveless dresses. I love it, and I've had so many like hard-nosed, old, white-haired academia ivory tower guys come up to me and they're like, "I really like your tattoo." And I'm like, "Thanks." So there's never been any weirdness despite what people would have you believe, but I was like, should I continue onto the hand? Should I do like a little bit more up onto the, but I don't know. The neck is a commitment. The neck's a commitment.
Commitment. It's a look, but also you have so many degrees. How could someone argue like, oh, neck tattoos mean you're never going to get a job? It's like, I went to Harvard. What are we doing here anymore?
Yeah, what do you want to talk what do you want to talk about, sir? I'm literally actively trying to solve issues in space. What do you want to talk about? You want to talk about my neck tat?
Everyone that lives off planet from here until the end of time are going to do so better because of what I'm doing right now. So
It's not a big deal, so let's not worry. Actually, fun fact, one of the people that works at Johnson Space Center, and she was involved in the training. I think it was the underwater component, sort of simulating microgravity for, I don't know if you've seen the huge pool at NASA where they submerge the astronauts and have them work on stuff and things to like get used to it. So she worked in that training facility, and she's actually like fully neck tatted. And the cool part is she's the front woman for a band called Gore. And it's actually like, who are they on tour with right now? I can't remember. But yeah, it's super dope because she works at NASA like Johnson during the day, and at night she's the front woman for this like screamy metal band, and she's got neck tattoos. I love her. She's awesome. Shout out Haley.
I worked at a restaurant in the Macy's building in Herald Square, like the big one, the original original Macy's building. And I worked for this manager, Matthew, who was always in a suit, always like very proper. Like you know how like sometimes Americans give British even though they're not British, like just in their mannerisms and the way they carry themselves.
Sure, sure, yeah. And it's almost like you can't detect an accent, but you're like, I kind of feel like I do, even though it's not there. I do, yeah.
Like I saw him every day for 9 months, full suit, clean shaven, buzzed cut roughly. And then one day, just middle of summer, he comes in cargo shorts and a band tee and
Yes.
covered like legs and arms. He I could not see any bare skin above his wrist or above his ankle. And
That's phenomenal.
I saw him, I stopped. Three more people saw me stop and looked and they stopped. And then there were maybe 15 servers on the floor and we're all just staring at him and he looked. It was
Yeah, I
like,
know the entire staff just stopped in their tracks.
sir, you look no, you need to tell us what's going on.
Yeah, no, we need to have a story time right now about this.
Absolutely.
I love him. Bless him.
Matthew Gardner, one of my
Matthew.
favorite managers I've ever had, one of the best managers I've ever had, taught me more about the restaurant industry than any other boss that I've ever had.
Matthew Gardner, I hope you're listening to this. High praise.
Um, okay, so the research that you're working on right now is very heavy space related, and also very heavy like human biology, gut biome related.
Yeah, very right now it's very heavy in just the cellular biology, like just hard lab science. Yeah.
But you cover so many different fields of science. Is there a different field that maybe when this whole project is done that you would love to like dive into next?
I get this question a lot because everybody's like, well, you're in medical research, but you also make content on quantum physics and all of these things. I love it all, but I always said if I had to do it again, what would I do? And I feel like I would do astrophysics. I love, and that's a hard pivot at this stage in my career to be like, let me just do astrophysics, you know? That would be like an entire research and career pivot. But if I had to do it again, I would probably do astrophysics. But then if you ask me in another month, I'll be like, I would do shark research and marine biology. It bounces. I have just a deep love for everything. I get so curious about everything. And it's reflected in my CV because even though I've stuck with the sort of medical research and discovery aspect of science, it has moved from orthopedics and joint reconstruction into novel intraoperative technology development into oncology, and then I found my home and my sweet spot in peripheral nerve repair and regeneration. So I've kind of done a little tour de science in my own niche. So
Absolutely. What what about astrophysics or what about like marine biology? Is it just general curiosity or is there like something specific about astrophysics that pulls you? Because that's the one you mentioned first.
sure. I mean,
Hierarchy.
yeah, I think astrophysics is fascinating because there's still so much that we don't understand about the way that the universe actually operates. We have two very fundamental sects of physics. We have like Newtonian classical physics, which is the way you describe planets orbiting, it's the way you describe the parabolic trajectory of a baseball when you throw it, the physics that's intuitive, the stuff that you see every day, trains crashing, stuff like that. That's all classic physics. And then there is the very non-intuitive, hyper bizarre, weird world of quantum physics, which makes no sense to us. And there's superposition and like things existing in potentially an infinite number of states all at one time. And that's all very real stuff that exists on the tiniest level and is real, but there's no marriage between them. And so astrophysics is cool because there are unanswered things about space. Like, what is dark matter and what does it do? Is it working on a quantum level? Is it working on a classical level? Is it working on neither? Is there a multiverse? Why is it that, black holes seem to violate this principle that, you can essentially like render completely gone. You can vanish like matter and energy. You shouldn't be able to do that, right? Like energy can neither be created nor destroyed. And so when you eat something in a black hole, you're doing that violates that principle. But you can't violate that otherwise. So like a bunch of the physics that we know and love fail to actually be applicable. So there's so many cool things about space and just the great expanse. And astrophysics, like there's so many different things you can study in astrophysics, searching for exoplanets and things like that. And it's just a really cool dynamic field of a bunch of geeks just sitting there doing math and looking at stars. And I think that's so cool. I think that's awesome. And actually, fun fact, Neil deGrasse Tyson, astrophysicist, he is apparently overdoing science communication. And he's like, I just want to do research. And so he said multiple times, like, I want somebody to pick up the torch for me because I'd love to just go back and do astrophysics research for a while.
That guy, he seems like he's everywhere. And I will say this, I was bragging about having booked you for this to a couple people at work, and
You honor me.
one of my friends was like, "Oh, you have scientists on." I was like, "Well, I will start to have scientists. Anyone?" Yes. And she was like, "Neil deGrasse Tyson's office is right down the street. Why don't?"
Amazing.
And
Hit him up.
I haven't heard back yet, but
He for Don't feel bad about it because he and I actually we have the same publisher, and he has a copy of my book, and he was supposed to write not like a whole foreword, but he was supposed to write like a blurb for the book, and that was supposed to be due about 3 years ago.
hold on.
His Yeah, yeah, it's not in there, but you should write it in there just to like sign it as his name. But his agent was like, he is always behind on deadlines, and he's just like a guy that's hard to like corral in. But one day you will. One day he'll be on the show.
It seems like I see him on every podcast, like the stupid ones hosted by comedians and
Yeah.
intellectual guys have him on, and then everything in between, science, like he's everywhere.
He was on tour too. I saw him live in Salt Lake, and he was phenomenal. It was really great. He kind of gave perspective to this audience and just walked us through a PowerPoint and was very charming and funny. And the best part is that he walked out and immediately took his shoes off and was like, I'm not going to wear these shoes, and just walked out on stage like in his socks the entire night. And he was super, super sick. Like you could hear it in his voice. And he prefaced the entire soiree with saying, well, I'm really medicated right now, and to be honest, highly loopy. And so I don't know what you guys are gonna get, but this is gonna be interesting for me too. He was just walking around in socks, like doped up on cough meds.
And probably also still one of the smartest guys in the room.
Crushed it. I mean, absolutely crushed it. Was so engaging, and it's a good thing to see from a scientist because he is sort of one of my forefathers. Like he's the one that really, I think, recently made science communication highly accessible. Before him, it was Carl Sagan. And, to see a scientist be able to pack an amphitheater just talking about science was such a hopeful thing. It's like that. I mean, that place, I think it was probably sold out if I had to like remember what the seating looked like. Multiple tiers, and just sitting there watching this man, this astrophysicist, scroll through a PowerPoint and talk about the world. And then at the end, brought in this like very, very humbling, poignant, philosophically important underpinning about like interconnectivity and the earth and things like that. And it was just like, hell yeah, man. Like more scientists should be packing out houses talking about important things that bring the world together.
I always think that my first Neil deGrasse Tyson thought, anytime I think of him, is something that he said on a clip recently, or maybe it was years old, and I just saw it recently, where he's talking about the night sky and how, the universe is ever expanding and everything is getting farther and farther apart from everything, and how the night sky for dinosaurs 65 million years ago or 200 million years ago looked completely different.
Drastically different.
How, like, not only were things in different places, but things were much closer and possibly still in existence, like stars and planets that might not exist anymore, but they might exist. They might just now be so far away that we just can't detect them anymore.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's mind-boggling.
Terrified me.
Terrifying. Terrifying because the crazy thing about that expansion is that it's accelerating and we don't know why. One of the theories is dark energy, but we don't really have a good working rationale for why the universe is accelerating in its expansion. And it's like once it passes that cosmic horizon, you will never see it again. And so Lord knows, and I get asked this quite frequently from people. They're like, what's the craziest science fact you know? And I say it every single time that, we have this concept, you hear it said colloquially very often, kind of flippantly. You'll hear scientists say the observable universe, the observable universe. What does that mean? That means that there's a radius of the universe that is what we can observe, but we have no idea what's outside that radius. The observable universe is not the entire universe. In fact, it's very highly likely that it's not. It is just a radius at which point the photons from the outermost rim of that radius have had enough time to make it to our sensors. And then anything outside of that, there just hasn't been enough time and there will never be enough time. So we'll never be able to see it. The observable universe is just the patch we can see, and we will never see outside. Amazing, right? I mean, it's horrific and amazing, and it's so far.
I feel this small when you say
Yeah, little bitty, and but a lot of people they do ask, when you study stuff like this, oh, it makes me feel small, it makes me feel insignificant. But I always counter that with, well, we have this staggering billions and billions and billions and billions radius of the observable universe. And so far, even though we've been putting our ears up to the sky, we have not found evidence to suggest that, apart from like declassified recent CIA docs, but we haven't heard or seen any blips. Nobody has like directly contacted us in a way that the general public would see and hear. And, so insofar as we're concerned right now, we could be the only game in town. And so that is such a precious thing that we're a part of the universe that evolved enough to be able to understand itself. And you live in an era wherein it's not too early in the universe's birth to where it's hot and chaotic and you never would have had a chance to evolve in any capacity, and it's not far enough away that the universe has expanded to a point in which it's very cold, and again there's no way to coalesce anything, and so we kind of live in this beautiful sweet spot. And I think there's something so brilliant and beautiful about that. Like, hey, we don't know if there's anybody else, and we only get this one little shot on this little weird iron and nickel rock that's creating through space, creating through a void of radiation. And there's something really precious. So don't, when you think about the staggering nature, I always tell people, don't think of yourself as insignificant. Think about yourself as incredibly significant, because you're so special to be doing this right now. You're so special to be paying taxes right now.
there was a meme trend going around like a year ago, I think, and it was like billions and billions of years of the universe, and you are lucky enough to exist at the same time as Stanley Tucci.
Oh my gosh, we should all feel highly blessed. Highly blessed. I want that to be on my epitaph, like existed during the lifespan of Stanley Tucci. We're not worthy.
We're not. Ah, there was I work with like three or four different guys at work that are gay, and they are also actors, and we were having the conversation about can gay actors play straight guys if straight guys can't play gay actors, and the whole thing. And it's a whole discussion, and they're like, well, I don't want to be limited to only playing gay characters, and I'm like, I don't want to like impose or like, it's like, no, it's a whole big thing. And we had an intellectual conversation for about 5 minutes, and then there was like a little bit of a silence, and then I was like, "But Stanley Tucci can play whoever he wants, right?" And everyone was like, "Yeah, Stanley
But
Tucci
yes,
is the one who can play whoever he wants."
yeah, he's the exception to the rule in like most capacities, not just that capacity, but many capacities.
So good.
The man is a legend.
I had a friend who met him. She was working at a restaurant, and we were supposed to hang out. And she said that her manager called her and was like, "Emergency, I need you to come in. Sunday night dinner, private event, I need you to come in." And so she cancels on me and hits me up at like 9:30. And she's like, "Justin, guess who's here?" And I'm like, "Okay, I don't know." And she's like, "Did you ever watch The Office?" I'm like, "Yeah, of course."
Obviously.
"Do you know who Jim is?" And I was like, "You're telling me that John Krasinski is there?" She's like, "John Krasinski is here, yes. And his wife. And his wife's sister." And I'm like, "Is
Hang on a second.
sister's husband, Stanley Tucci, also there?" And she's like, "Yes, he is."
Wow.
She led me through John Krasinski and Emily Blunt because she knew that Stanley Tucci was the prize. And
Baited you.
I love John Krasinski and Emily Blunt, but she was like, "Stanley Tucci is here, yeah,
Stanley Tucci, the man is here.
legend." Did you do you cook often at
I
home?
cook. I do. I love cooking. Very rarely order, but I do cook quite frequently.
Tried his cookbook?
No, he's a cookbook.
Stanley Tucci has a cookbook. And I
What can he not do? Perfect specimen.
can't fail.
He can't fail. Fact. That's a hard fact.
That's one thing he can't do. You know what he just recently said was one of his favorite roles, and this is going to surprise, I think, anyone. If you
I
want,
have no idea. He's had so many varied roles. I have no idea.
it's not even one of his iconic ones. He said he loved playing the German doctor in the first Captain America movie.
Really? What did he say? Why?
I'm sure he did. I read it as like a little like blurb. It was like, what's one of your favorite roles? And he was like, "I loved playing the doctor in Captain America."
Wow.
Yeah. Which I would think I Easy A was like one of his fun roles.
Yeah, an enjoyable one that you would assume would have been awesome.
Contemplate what got a lot of attention recently and got a lot of award nods. Even though, did you hear about how Ray Fiennes wasn't nominated or didn't win an Academy Award because most of the voting committee thought he had already won once, and so they didn't vote for him because they didn't want to give him a second one, and he had never won an Academy Award.
Which is crazy because Ray Fiennes is also like a phenomenal actor. Phenomenal.
Yes. And then he also recently got into ridiculous shape for his Odyssey movie, where
Is he in the Odyssey?
he's not in the Christopher Nolan one. There's
Oh,
one
okay.
out where it's a different part of the story, I guess. I don't know. How
Interesting.
out two or three different versions of the same source material at the same time.
I
Uh,
mean,
but,
quintessential Hollywood.
but like just type in Ray Fiennes Odysseus and he looks like he's got giant arms and a six pack and like he's got his like old man beard because it's Odysseus. It
Sure, yeah.
wasn't shaving on the road, and but he looks phenomenal for I think 61 years old.
Wow. He's so incredible. What a guy. What a guy. Plays despicable so well. I love a good villain. And he's got some, oh God, what is the name of that movie where he's horrific and it's like it's set in the desert, like in World War One. And he's like the lover of this woman of some like well-to-do guy. It's very famous, but he's despicable and like creepy and like it's a beautiful movie and tragic and like gut-wrenching and romantic, but you you'd recognize the name of it.
Um, did you ever see The Menu?
No.
The Menu is it's a movie of his that came out like 2 3 years ago with Nicholas Hoult and Anya Taylor Joy, where
I like her.
she's great. Did you see The Gambit?
Of course.
Phenomenal.
Wonderful.
he plays an executive chef at a restaurant that's impossible to get reservations for. And you follow Nicholas Hoult and Anya Taylor-Joy, and then a bunch of other people that are coming to this restaurant, and you slowly figure out that they're not leaving. And he's going to, throughout the evening, everyone is going to die. And
What? That's awesome.
and so Anya Taylor-Joy was a last minute date swap for Nicholas Holt's character because his girlfriend broke up with him. And so she wasn't originally supposed to be there. And she's like, this is bullshit. I don't know why anyone's going along with this. And there's a moment towards the end because he's a chef. He loved being a chef and he just got burnt out on restaurants, fast casual dining, everything about the restaurant industry being pretentious and this, that, and the other. And there's a moment, you're watching this hour 45 of him just being very poised, calm, collected, serving these weird, abstract concept dishes. And then there's a moment where you see him finally like show his humanity and break a little bit. And it just breaks your heart in a way where you're like, wait, you're the bad guy. Why do I feel
I'm not supposed to. Oh, he's so wonderful. He's so good.
that moment with like those moments? I moved out to New York to pursue acting, and I think that the mark of a really good actor is your ability to get the audience to understand your argument and take your side. That's why
Sure.
that's why actors like Tom Hiddleston are so good because as Loki, the
You
trickster,
root for Loki.
you root for Loki. Um, you root for Ray Fiennes as this executive chef who's in 5 minutes going to kill 35 people.
Amazing.
So
I
highly.
love it.
Um, okay, hold on. I want to make sure we get to everything. I don't want to wait. Back to misinformation.
Let's go.
This
Back to the good stuff.
stuff. If there was, if you like found a genie, three wishes, and one of them was to dispel any kind of misinformation or myth around science, just completely erase it from human history. No one even thinks it anymore. No one's ever thought it. No one ever will.
Yeah. Um, the first one that comes to mind is that vaccines cause autism.
That is literally what I wrote down is what I thought you were going to say.
Yeah. The original gentleman that came out with that, and it's crazy because he's still cited, and I don't know why, but that misinformation has been so damaging for so many people. And, his data and everything was so poor and so obviously biased that the paper was redacted. Like he was not allowed to publish research anymore in his country, and his medical license was revoked. And yet everyone still cites him, and you're like, that's insane. So that immediately yes.
Same guy that RFK Jr. just brought in to help with his whatever.
David Geyer. Yep. Yep.
I'll censor his name. We don't need to put.
Same. Yeah. Beep. The man does not need any acknowledgement whatsoever.
Yeah, that's that's a really good answer. Yeah, I would.
Yeah.
Okay, that is that is all my science questions. I have a quick little rapid fire,
Ooh.
like answer like quick and easy if you can, if you're ready.
Okay, let's go. I'm here for it.
Favorite plant?
Oh, these kind of questions. You're coming out swinging. You know, I have a Thai constellation Monstera that I love because it's variegated, has big patches of white, and Monsteras are very, I think, easy to care for. So if you're out there and you want a big house plant with low maintenance, Monstera.
I think we already kind of covered this, but favorite general scientific field of study?
Ooh, there's so many. I'll say two. I love being in medicine because, like I said, my entire purpose is to impact as many human lives as possible. It's awesome. It's varied. Um, but Like astrophysics is also pretty dope. Cosmology, like anything up in space.
Favorite author and or book?
Um, I'll just say to keep it to one, Cormac McCarthy. He wrote The Road, Child of God, Blood Meridian. Phenomenal, dark, twisted, amazing. And what was the other one? You said favorite. Oh, and favorite book. I would say of his, if I'm going to say favorite author, and then one of his that I have, The Road is awesome. They made it into a movie, but the book is so much more gut wrenching. It's like a post-apocalyptic scenario of a father and son trying to survive, and just the descriptions of their survival and everything they go through, and like the end of the book is like you're just like, God, it's just horrific, but beautiful. I love it. I like very twisted literature, so.
That's Viggo Mortensen, right? In the movie?
Yes, yes. In the movie, they did a good job. It wasn't terrible, but there's like a lot. There's like a lot that you can't like for Hollywood palatability that you can't reconstruct.
Sell tickets.
Yeah, exactly.
Earliest science related memory.
Probably being in being in my room, and I had a family member that bought me a little kit where you could grow brine shrimp and like study them through their sort of morphologic development. And I had like a little chintzy plastic microscope that I got for Christmas, and so I was growing brine shrimp and like various little like water bottle caps and stuff. That was like my makeshift lab, and like looking at them under the microscope. And that's why I didn't have a lot of friends growing.
Yeah. How old were you for that?
Oh, probably 9, 8 or 9 would be my guess. Yeah. Definitely the weird kid on the block for quite a while. Still probably the weird kid on the block as an adult, if I had to be honest.
Guilty pleasure entertainment.
Oh, I love to turn it off and just watch reality TV every once in a while. I was on like past seasons of a Love is Blind kick, which everybody's probably like, that's a hard left for you. But only because it's so non-cerebral and I can do other things with it in the background. One of my I wouldn't call it a guilty pleasure, but I absolutely love it, and it deserves every amount of praise and awards it has received, is Love on the Spectrum.
Yes. Yeah.
I love, like, when that came out, I watched every episode that day. As soon as it came out, I was like, yes, it's done, drop, like, let's go. I love it. It's amazing. My little sister, she doesn't have autism, but she's physically and mentally handicapped, and she's significantly delayed. And I had heard people say, "Oh, it seems exploitative because they're like following these people around when they're dating because it's like strange or whatever. They're like quirky." And I, as somebody with a handicapped sister, I think it couldn't be further from the case, because I think that society has a tendency to infantilize people with disabilities, learning disabilities, physical disabilities, and they're normal adults. And I think showing the desire to want to find love and be married and like have an adult life, it's so precious and wonderful. And like, to be honest, the men on there have mad games. I'm like, listen, like some of these men on here, they're putting everybody else to shame. So yeah, I love it. They won an Emmy actually, and they absolutely deserve it. I think they do such a good job with awareness and things like that.
Do you have a favorite like person or couple?
Oh man. They're also delightful. I love Connor. Connor just says the most like, he always speaks like he's in a Shakespearean play. And the most recent season where he kind of found his girl, and her name escapes me in the moment, but the things that he said, when he was so flustered and he had his first kiss and all, I mean, it was just delightful. And he's just a character and a half. I love him to death. He's awesome.
Guilty pleasure food.
Oh, you know, it's a weird guilty pleasure, but it is highly packed in sugar. I hammer about 2 pounds of dried dates every week.
Two, two, two.
Yeah, I'm not even like, I'm not even kidding, because there's this large tub that I can buy from my grocery store. It's a sizable tub. And I was like, I wonder how many like pounds or ounces this is. And I looked and it's legitimately 2 pounds. And I house, I mean, and it's just like I'll walk and I pop them in. Like after I get back from the gym, it's like a quick glucose pump, but yeah, that's definitely my guilty pleasure. Other than that, like I'm a sushi hound. I love sushi.
Yeah.
Mm.
And then favorite movie.
Wow. This is very difficult. I really like a lot of Darren Aronofsky's stuff. I love a good deep examination of the human condition. Um, I so like Requiem for a Dream is amazing. A recent movie that I think is just an absolute masterpiece is Interstellar. I mean, the score, the accuracy, like the physics accuracy of that is unparalleled. Like they did such a wonderful job with that movie. Um, is one of my favorites. The recent one about oh God, what is the name of that movie? It's escaping me now. I think Christopher Nolan did this one too about the atomic bomb development. Oppenheimer, thank you. I saw that in theater. I went by myself. I'm one of those guys like I'll do a like solo theater trip, and that one I was like I absolutely have to go and just be in my zone. And oh my God, like I cried in the moment where he realizes, and you see the stark reality on his face and the way that they represented the disparity between light speed and the speed of sound, where you had that gruelingly long moment where you see it on everyone's face, the shock and awe, and then that bass in the theater where you get the actual sound percussive wave. Oh my God. I mean, that was what a phenomenal movie. So yeah, I have a few wonderful recents. I also am a big fan of like black and white samurai movies. So Seven Samurai is such a classic and a wonderful film. So that's like a throwback from the Jesus 1930s or something is when they made that movie. So
I had another question, but I feel like you might have answered it already. And so if it's the same answer, then it is.
then I'm going to be belligerent about it.
I was going to ask if there was any piece of media, film, TV that you saw that just absolutely nailed the science in a way that was kind of unexpected and
Oh,
shockingly accurate.
yeah, I mean, Interstellar was amazing. I mean, the way that they represented sort of multidimensionality, the way that they explained time dilation, that's such a heady concept to explain such a weird, actually accurate thing. Like time dilation due to gravity or due to mass, like proximity to mass, and to make it palatable for a general audience was phenomenal. Like you're like damn, like they really, like the entire audience gets what's going on right now because they're near this black hole. Like that's crazy. Like time dilation is such a strange thing, relativistic time passage. That was really incredible. Something that is very inaccurate, which I loved to harp on, was Grey's Anatomy. Was very like Grey's Anatomy, very frequently they put their stethoscopes in backwards. And so stethoscopes are actually they are directionally situated. So yeah, the earpieces have to face forward to follow the direction of the canal. If they're backward, you won't hear anything. They'll be completely blank. And so you'd see them like throw it in backwards, and they're like, he's tachycardic. And you're like, you can't hear shit out of that stuff. So it's like these little nuances that I always thought were really funny in that show.
So when the doctor that I had on that I mentioned earlier, I asked her a question. Maybe you can answer as well. Uh, Growing up, we watched a lot of different medical based shows, ER, uh, House, Scrubs, and
I
I
love Scrubs.
love Scrubs. I read once somewhere that Scrubs was at the time the most medically accurate show on TV. Was that
Yeah, they had a I think more than one physician advising on every episode. So yeah, they actually nailed a lot of it.
that's what I thought, and that's one of my favorite shows of all time. Like that's on my it's in my cycle of I need to like I just got home from 12-hour shift. I need to sit down. I need something that I don't need to pay attention to.
A comfort show. Do you have a show where you know that it's an annual rewatch? You're like, or not even a show, like a movie, something where you're like, every year I got to do it. I gotta immerse myself.
I have holiday movies right around Christmas that I always have.
Classic.
National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation is a day of with the family always.
That is the only one that I can ritualistically rewatch. Like the other ones, sort of like some years I'll skip it because I'm like, dude, I can't watch that again. Like, but that one every single year without fail.
The,
Phenomenal.
the other ones that are every year are the two Home Alones.
Ooh, okay.
Two, not three, four, five, just the first two. Um,
The ones that matter.
um, and then there's an animated movie that Netflix made called Klaus, Klaus. Came out like 3, 4 years ago, and it's actually become my favorite Christmas movie. So
Really?
it's J.K. Simmons as Santa Claus, and it's kind of like an origin story, but it's
That's awesome.
Jason Schwartzman as a postmaster general's son who's grown up rich, lavish lifestyle and doesn't want to work. And postmaster general sends him to like this weird, far north, like Arctic town to set up a post office.
I
And
love Schwartzman, by the way. He's awesome.
it's great. And this town is at war with each other because it's like Romeo and Juliet, two warring families. Just historically, since the beginning of time, they've always been at war with each other. And he has to get 5,000 letters stamped in this town of people that are not sending letters because they hate each other. And he's got to get these letters in order to get back to his original lifestyle. And he's crying and whining the entire time. And he tries every single house. And then there's this map, and there's this like little house up in the mountains. And he goes, and this guy, Klaus, is a toy maker. And he convinces the kids if they write a letter to Mr. Klaus, they might get a toy. And it's this,
Okay. That's awesome.
it is one of the most beautiful animated films I've ever seen. It
Wow.
and it's also a really cool like artistic thing is it's hand drawn, and then they
Oh, wonderful.
used a computer program that was able to interpret what the lines meant, and they used the computer program to light it so it looks like it's a 3D animated, almost Pixar like style.
Wow.
Hand drawn. Highly recommend. Have a box of Kleenex next to you because there are some moments,
Oh, love that.
especially like the last like 5 seconds, just
Oh,
every time.
last 5 seconds and then cut to credits, and you're like, wow.
It's just like it's happy tears in the last
Mm,
seconds, and you're just like, can I? Is it too soon to just watch it again?
yeah. I mean, no. The answer is no.
But outside of holidays, I think I watch The Office, Parks and Rec, and How I Met Your Mother like once a year minimum.
Parks and Rec is phenomenal.
So good.
It's so good. I think I do the I'm a big proponent of like the Lord of the Rings trilogy as a Christmas. That's a Christmas trilogy to me. It feels Christmassy, like you got to get cozy, as is Harry Potter. Like that's a Christmas binge. But on my annual lineup are the Kill Bills. Like
Aren't they doing?
I
I hear that they're doing a three.
I mean, like they had said that they were, and then somebody had spread the rumor that the little girl from Black Mamba, like that sees that, Beatrice killed her mom in the kitchen, and she's like, no hard feelings or whatever, and then she leaves. And there was like talk that there was going to be, that she was going to come back for revenge on, but I don't know. I mean, the two volumes you can't, they're so good.
We don't need it, and I know Quentin Tarantino has said he's doing one more movie and then he's done, which
Quentin Tarantino, I feel like has said that on multiple occasions.
but I know that Darren Aronofsky's doing a sequel to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood that Quentin
Really?
writing, not directing, and
Wow. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was really well done.
it's so well done.
I think it was good.
The Leo DiCaprio in the trailer freaking out scene that was
Oh,
it's all improvised.
really?
Up to him and he's like, "You're an actor and you just had the worst take of your life. Go,
Wow.
just cut loose." Yeah,
Tarantino is another director that I adore. I mean, like I've seen all of his stuff, like Grindhouse too, like his involvement in that. I mean, his stuff is phenomenal. I recently rewatched The Hateful Eight, Triumph, so good.
so good. And the last movie to be filmed in, I forget the ratio, but the same ratio of IMAX that Sinners just used.
Really, I haven't gone to see Sinners yet, but I hear wonderful things.
It's one of the best movies I've seen in years. It's
Really?
literally one of the. It's just start to finish. You're captivated. The music is like very well done, like old school blues, but like doesn't
And
sound.
I love Delta Blues. I love a Muddy Waters. Like, and so that was when I heard they were doing it, I was like, I would see it for the just the music. And then I heard it was sensational.
And then like the soundtrack has so many good artists. Like Alice in Chains did a song for the soundtrack that just matches. But it's go see if you can go see it in the 70 millimeter IMAX.
Okay.
It's not just a normal screen because there are
Yeah.
moments that you need the full
You
scale.
need the full shebang. Got it. Got it. Got it.
I've seen it twice already. I'm going to go see it a third time before it leaves.
Stop. That's because see, like I'm in a new area now, so that sucks because like I would totally go if you were close to me. I'd be like, let's go see it. Since you're gonna go see it anyway, I'll go see it for the first time.
I had a friend whose date blew out his knee, and she was like, "Hey, I might come into the city," and I'm like, "I'm working. What were you gonna do?" And she was like, "We were gonna go see Sinners." I was like, "Go by yourself."
Just go. Yeah.
She went to the, which is fine, but
Ah,
we missed out on one of the one of the best movies. It legitimately, I haven't seen something this good in the last 4 or 5 years.
really? That's phenomenal. I will go see it because I'm not above doing a solo cinematic journey. I love that. I love it. Just being in the space. So there's I'm actually disappointed because there's I one of my guilty pleasures is like little crappy theaters where it's like they're just run down. You're like, I don't even know if anybody goes here anymore. And they're like $5, you know what I mean? And you're like, this is awesome and so cheesy. It's either that or like you go high end with the reclining cushy seats. You know, I love that too. I love that moment. But
I love those small theaters. I love that people still go to them. This is the big, cushy, big screen.
yeah, yeah, we gotta level up for this one, I think. But the little crappy theater across the street from me, it's not playing Sinners. So it's not even an option right now. So I've got no choice but to pony up and go to the big one.
Did you hear any of the news around Ryan Coogler and the deal that he made with this movie?
No.
So Ryan Coogler, uh, he directed maybe Black Panther and Black Panther 2, Creed 1, 2, and 3. So he's made, I think he said in an interview, he's made over $2 billion for production companies and studios. So
Wow. He loves him some Michael B. Jordan too, apparently.
nuts.
That's his muse.
I love that. They're like Scorsese and De Niro,
Yeah, absolutely.
younger version of.
It's I love it.
Honestly, I think they're doing it better than Scorsese and De Niro.
I mean, I didn't see I only saw the first Creed, but I did see the Black Panthers, which I loved. I thought he smoked it. Did a great job.
I met Angela Bassett. I took care of her at my restaurant. Like
Really? Oh, she's so elegant, you know what I mean? She seems like such a just an awesome person.
she was like incognito, like hoodie and like baseball cap
I
down.
bet.
And her son is just like, no one knows who I am, so I can have my face out. Thing. The son's at Yale, like it's graduation season, so I'm like, oh, did you just graduate? He's like, no, it's my freshman year, and I'm like, oh, where you at? I'm talking to her son. I didn't even see that she was there.
Yeah, which she probably appreciated, you know?
I'm just casually not talking to Angela Bassett, and like I could have, she was close enough for me to just like rest my elbow on her shoulder. And
Yeah.
I honestly, I wasn't even sure it was her until she handed me her credit card to pay.
And then you're like, wait a second.
You are the person that got snubbed at the Academy Awards for Black Panther 2. Got it. Cool, 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 cool.
Ugh, Miss Bassett. But what a legend though. I mean,
Yeah.
what an absolute legend.
She's in the upcoming Mission Impossible movie too, I found
Is
out.
she really?
out because Nick Offerman was doing a interview. He was talking about how he's now in love with Tom Cruise and how they were filming the first scene they filmed, like day one of production. He's like, he comes in to talk to the president, Miss Angela Bassett. And I was like, oh, so she's in the movie. Very cool.
That's sick. I love that. I love that. She has a very presidential air about her. Anyway, you know what I mean? What a great cast for a president. I feel like she's played like I can see her in my mind in Power Suits. I feel like she's played like a senator or something like that in other movies, like a high-powered
I mean, President, Mission Possible, Queen of Wakanda twice. Uh,
twice.
um, yeah, I mean, yeah, I feel like there's
I
like a
can see it in my mind.
HBO show or something where she was either president or vice president. Some yeah, I can't remember which one.
She's got that vibe. She is a very, like I said, like regal, very elegant politician vibe. Although I would say that she's probably more refined than politicians these days, but
Oh
by
yeah,
a long shot.
especially since January.
Yes, yeah. Especially since January.
I had one question submitted by people at work. They all vote
Oh,
because I mentioned I was interviewing you, and they were like,
I like that you pulled it off the back table. Like it was like a secret. It was
"Shit, that you write an order on at the restaurant." There, because it was such a good question. I didn't want to remember it incorrectly, so I'm like,
right.
I gotta write that down real quick.
All right, let's do it.
What is the most exciting thing you didn't think was possible until science showed you that it was?
Oh man. You know, surprisingly, there are a lot of things. Something that I didn't think was possible until science showed it was gene editing. There's so there are so many problems associated with how you edit DNA because DNA isn't just like a string of things and everything is like separated and nice. Like you change part of DNA here and then it could break adjacent things and then render everything completely horrific. But the CRISPR-Cas9 system, it won a Nobel Prize in 2022 and we were able to harness machinery from bacteria, and it's basically like a bacterial immune system, and then go in and use this machinery and say, hey, there's a gene and it looks like this, we want you to cut that out and then replace it with something else. And so this machinery can go in and cut out down to a base pair, which is like, if DNA is a book, right? The book that is the blueprint of you. A base pair is like one letter in one sentence on like a random page, right? So it's a tiny, tiny unit of DNA. And base pair mutation or can affect other things downstream and can be very deleterious. But to be able to be like, go find this one letter on this one page that's in the middle of the book that's tucked away, and the fact that we can potentially do that, I no one would have thought, I don't know, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, that that was ever possible to do, to be like, we can replace DNA because most human disease is predicated on malfunctioning DNA. And we haven't been able to roll it out yet because there's a lot we need to learn about like the mechanisms of DNA and epigenetics and things like that. But yeah, that's one of those crazy things where you're like, that is something I never would have thought that I would have seen in my lifetime. And also, I think artificial intelligence, like, even though it's not developed yet, but we had that conversation about AGI in the beginning. The fact that that is now not only a possibility, but a likelihood is staggering.
It's like coming in the next 5.
Yeah. And a lot of people say, oh, it's not possible. It's not possible. And I think that the people who say it's not possible are not deeply entrenched enough in what is probably already out in the world that is not released, like what already exists in labs. And like I said, that is one of those things where you're like, that's going to answer the question, are we alone? Because suddenly there's another consciousness. So no, we are not. Like it's wild. I mean, the implications are widespread. So yeah, I would say those are probably the two, just if we're quick shot in it, but
The CRISPR technology, that's what they did with bringing back the direwolf, right?
correct. Yes.
Altered gene function on gray wolves, so they're not actually, they didn't like Jurassic Park like
They
know about it. They
No, they did. Yeah, they didn't like resurrect something from deep freeze. But they did. That was CRISPR-Cas9 technology, and a lot of people were lambasting Colossal, and Colossal actually follows me. Fun fact. I tagged them in the video, and they actually commented on a few comments on the video that I made about it. But Colossal, the great thing about that, because a lot of people, and this is where science communication comes in, like help us give people context, right? A lot of people were like, well, they didn't actually create a dire wolf. They lied to people and they resurrected a dire wolf genetically, right? They did. It's not an actual dire wolf. It's like I said, it's like a exhibit pimp my ride version of that where you took a gray wolf, you're like threw some spinning rims on it, and now it's a dire wolf characteristically. But the beauty about what Colossal is doing is not just like, oh, they made direwolf puppies, right? They made these like bougie direwolf puppies. That's not that's not like the end game of this, right? That's people are sort of losing the narrative here. The beauty about them doing this with CRISPR-Cas9 is that we're showing that gene editing, viable gene editing, is possible, right? And this is where taking these large scale macroscopic organisms, right? Because you can gene edit like yeast, right? You could do that all day, every day. Like scientists do that for lab experiments literally all the time. Like you buy genetically engineered mice to express certain characteristics to model disease in humans. That's literally old news, old hat. But doing something and being able to, gene edit, titrate, and then create characteristics in an animal that lives and thrives and survives and is healthy, that has tremendous applications for human medicine in the future. And so it's like Colossal Biosciences, like they're not just doing this to make cute puppies. Like that's what they're doing is they're setting a precedent for how we mobilize this in the future, how we help with, you know, um, bringing back things that have gone extinct like within the last few years, that are ecologically like very, very important, right? It's not just the direwolf. The direwolf is like the flashy marketing piece, right? But the success of it, yeah,
all
yeah, because you could say like, oh, we resurrected this extinct conifer tree from like the northern latitudes. No one would care. But what do? You hit it with a punchy thing. Oh, hey, dire wolves. What do people relate to? Dire wolves, because that was on Game of Thrones. So you say that name and suddenly everyone knows about it, and it is beautiful marketing. But the science is very elegant and very promising for a whole host of other applications. So
So with this ability, or the start of the ability to alter gene function and potentially, uh, hopefully down the road, eliminate imperfect gene function, which causes disease, and bring back, let's say, for example, tomorrow all the bees are gone. And there's this idea that we could bring back the bees, or, this particular plant that, corn, for example, we can bring back corn. And then also with the onset of AI being used to diagnose things way, way early. Like I heard about a AI model that was fed a breast scan that detected the earliest like sign of breast cancer, like 9 to 12 months before your standard test, and they were able
wow.
to get it before it even hit stage one, and she ended up being like 100% fine. They didn't even need to do any chemotherapy or radiation. Like you've got that technology coming down the line, and this technology. Do you think that there is a future for mankind where we don't have disease and we don't have a food crisis, where we have people that are hungry? Do you think like that's something that is actually coming down the line?
The utopia is the utopia possible. Um, I would say if we don't kill each other first. The problem, the biggest problem, and it really is us, right? This is going to be like a little bit of a soapbox moment, but AI has such tremendous potential along with, the things that we have developed mechanistically, CRISPR-Cas9. We're reaching a point where all of these little siloed specialties for these technologic companies, right? Like quantum computing, AI, robotics, medical technologies, they're going to hit a convergence at some point where you're going to give AI quantum computing processors, which is going to essentially supercharge like nitrous oxide the fuck out of AI. Like you're talking about right now with a classical supercomputer. there are certain problems like let's say, hey, give me a cure for cancer, right? Give a classical supercomputer that question. It would take that classical supercomputer running at full wattage, like a consistent million years to solve that problem, literally. And I'm not being hyperbolistic, like a million years. If you gave a quantum computer full wattage and hooked it up to AI, you're talking about solving problems in like a few weeks compared to the capability we have now. So, quantum computing, AI, you're seeing a convergence point that's going to happen at some point, probably very soon, if we can get quantum computing to like be stable. And so the whole like utopia thing, would it be possible theoretically? Yeah, for sure. Things like food scarcity, water issues. One of the biggest things that we're trying to use AI to tackle is how do we get a control on like environmental change and global environmental change. Um, diseases, things like that. We can probably knock out a lot of these things, but the problem is that AI, if it's not used responsibly, it will fall into the hands of the people who are very privileged, and the benefits of AI will benefit the people that have access to it, leaving behind the people that don't. So I was asked to speak on AI at agriculture at the Wisconsin Science Festival. Their theme was agriculture. And they're like, can you come and talk about this? And I'm like, I'm not a farmer or an AI expert, but I got you. So the takeaway from that talk is that AI is very robust, and the things with like, disease and crops right now that's like slashing our crop yield, water issues, things with fertilizers that are contaminating groundwater. We can for sure knock these things out and make farming more streamlined and ecologically stable for farmers everywhere. However, the only people that can afford this infrastructure is like Monsanto. So the people that are going to employ it, they're going to do well and have crop yield, are already the mega barons that are like slightly evil, right? And you're pushing out like mom and pop farmers who are like doing hydroponics, like and like they're not going to be able to afford something like that. So the utopia is possible theoretically, but what we need to be most worried about in that platform is saving humanity from itself and granting equal access to AI. And that's one of the big problems right now. I was telling you earlier, like there's no guardrails. Like people are just developing AI at breakneck speed, but also there's no like social guardrails. People aren't like, all right, hold up, hold up, hold up. Now AI is becoming a very advanced, and it makes smart people smart and dumb people dumber, and we have this divide in how people are using it. But we need to ensure that everyone has access. It's like the internet, everyone needs to have access to it. So that's the thing that would stop a utopia situation, is that I think it would be used by the powerful, and those that need it, they would get shirked ultimately.
Tragically, that reminded me of, I just read today that something like 37% of college students are using AI just to get through classes and get good grades, and they're not learning anything.
Yeah.
They're just plugging it into, any of the dozen models that are now available for free. And then, I've seen these like quick little clips of, 12 prompts to give Chat GPT to make it look like it's not Chat GPT. Okay, cool.
You're great. Wonderful. That's wonderful. Yeah, I think it, and that's going to continue. This problem is that, as in the past, like the past 10 years, let's say before the AI boom, there was this push, thank you to George Bush Jr., the No Child Left Behind Act, and that imposed a lot of standardized testing modalities. And so a lot of education, the teachers were not being asked to teach critical thinking. They were just being like, just fact regurgitation, just do that. And obviously teachers hate it. It's not the teacher's fault, right? It's the education system at large. And so you see this stripping away in younger generations. And there's actually, and this is like no shade to that generation, it's not their fault, but there have been a lot of evaluations of like Gen Z and their critical thinking and how much lower they score than, all of the like controlled variables in other generations before them. Partly probably because of that. But now with AI, like that's going to be making it worse. Like the critical thinking won't potentially be there unless you teach them how to critically think with AI. It's a very powerful tool, but it's meant to enhance and sort of collaborate with human intelligence, not to supplant it. And that's a really hard line to walk, especially with kids who are, I mean, to be honest, if I were in college and it were available, hell yeah, I would have AI do my assignments and stuff. Absolutely. Like, that would be, you'd be stupid not to.
I like to uh, like get on my high horse and say, my kids are, I work in a restaurant, a bunch of kids, and I'm seeing 2 and 3 year olds with the iPad, just like
Yep, glued.
never. But I've never been a parent, so I don't know how hard it is. I don't know
Yeah.
24/7 job, and your sleep goes down and your insanity goes up, and sometimes you need that hour with the other couple that are also parents, and it's like
Mm-hmm.
each other since our kids were born. Let's give our kids an iPad and enjoy each other for an hour before we get
For an
back.
Right. Think about like our parents' generation. Economically, they didn't have to both work. So you had a parent there managing and being like, go outside and play, go out, go do your chores, whatever. And now both parents are taken away from the home. They both have to work to sustain the family. So it's like, I don't really know what to do with you. I'm exhausted. Here you go. Here, which I get it, like I 100% get it.
Yeah, I will hopefully, get to the point where, future wife doesn't need to work, or if she wants to get to the point where future me doesn't need to work.
Get a sugar mama. That's the dream.
Oh,
It is the dream.
it's hard when you work 50 hours. You can't meet anyone who's all
Oh, yeah, I get it. I get it. I 100% get it. You're like, well, where do I meet people? Outside of bars. Well, I don't drink. I go to the gym, but I'm heads down. Like there's no like, where do you go?
like I go to a great gym. It's a lot of people that are like my age, and everyone. It's a little bit of a bougie gym, but I got in early, so I don't pay the same price that everyone else. It's got like the sauna and the cold plunge and the hot tub.
Mm. That is bougie. You got a cold plunge.
But it's only so it's New York. If you were to move out here today and sign up, I think you'd pay like 260, 275. I joined on day one. I pay 100.
I think I pay $30 for my, but I don't have a cold plunge, but we do. I like my gym because it's a very sort of like traditional lifting centered, right? We've got like 4 deadlift platforms and you've got racks on racks on racks and so the good stuff.
This is a little bit more boutique, which is not my favorite, but all of the traditional like gyms like you just described are so overrun out here because there's only like two of them. And
Oh, I yeah. So you're like I can't even work out if I'm there anyway because there's it's so busy. Yeah.
looks like they're like trying to be in the next bodybuilding competition. They're also loud, and they're also there for 5 hours a day. So you,
Oh,
so I'll go to the one that's a little bit more polished, and it still has all of the stuff. So I make do, but it
I mean that's like boxing gym fees, like boxing gyms and like MMA gyms are like 250.
they're like 575 out here.
I don't know how anyone affords to live in New York. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow. Two job, 50 hours a week. Let's go.
Maybe a podcast that'll take off, and maybe someone will sponsor it, and we'll see what happens.
I got you. I got fingers and toes crossed.
Appreciate it. We've been going for 2 hours and 15 minutes.
I mean, we had a marathon sesh today.
Did I loved it. I was only like hoping and expecting like 45 to an hour. So I really appreciate you going down all of the different science and space and cinema rabbit holes with me.
Of course, I should have warned you. This happens to every host because you end up getting into rabbit holes, and I will always acquiesce a rabbit hole, and so they'll be like, "Oh my God, we've been filming for like 2 hours," and I'm like, "You're good, you're good. This is me. This is on me."
Love it. Like this is also not the first time this has happened. I always try to keep it like 45 to 75 minutes, and then 2.5 hours later I'm with my guest if it's an in person, and I'm like,
Yeah,
do you need to leave? And
you're
then
like,
eventually, yeah, no. It's,
"Do you have a family you need to go back to? I'm so sorry."
but then also like I've got this bar set up, so they're oftentimes drinks, and then I notice that I'm like topping the person off for the fourth time, and I'm like,
Yeah, and
sweet, like, oh, no.
you're like, and they're like, "We're good, we're good, we're good. Keep filming, keep filming. It'll get the content will get even better as you keep filming."
I recently produced a movie with a buddy who wrote and directed it, and he came on to talk about producing and directing a like a small budget film in New York, and we talked for like 3 hours and
Wow.
hitting the record button at the beginning. And I don't know if I remember hitting the record button at the
Oh,
end because we went through most of that bottle of whiskey.
oh my God. Did you edit it already and listen to it?
Oh yeah, it's out. I
Oh,
published it's I split it into two parts because it was about 2 hours and 50 minutes and people don't want that. So
that's so much. Yeah.
part one, and then I dropped two other episodes in between, and then I dropped part two. And I mean, I don't think this is a brag. It doesn't feel like a brag, but I was pretty coherent. And so
Impressive.
that's like one of those I drank a full case of beer last night. It's like it's not the brag you think it is.
That's you. Hey, you know what? But you kept it. You commit to the bit. You kept it through the show. That's what's important, despite the odds.
And there was a selfie on my phone of us like that I don't remember taking.
I hope you used it as a thumbnail.
Oh yeah, no, it's my contact photo for him now.
Hell yes. That's amazing. That's absolutely incredible.
But I thank you so much. I do want to let you go. I don't want to take up any more of your time.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for coming on. Go see Sinners.
I will.
This time comes around, watch Klaus, and
Yes.
send you pictures of my clippings from plants and all of their progress.
Please do, Plant Daddy. Please do.